Yes, and welcome to Vasily's Garden, folks. The other day we came out in, started pruning this olive tree to shape it up again because we want to get it to have a nice open vase shape and not too tall. But the fact is, where it is out here, it's so windy, and today's a prime example of it. Actually, as I'm thinking about it, come along here for a second. I'll show you how windy it is. Come and have a look at these pine trees. They've got a slight lean on them and it's going towards the southeast. That's because we get the northwesterly winds blowing here, a gale. I should have put my jacket on because it's bloody cold. And they've got a lean on them, and that's what's happened with most of the trees out here on the side of the dam. I planted olive trees and maples. Some of the larger variety of maples are doing fine. They don't mind this sort of weather, but the small ornamental maples, well, they're all ornamental, but the small sort of more delicate ones don't like it out here. But anyway, we're going to talk about staking your trees up because that's what these need here. You can see this olive tree, we pruned it the other day, but it's got a massive lean on it. I don't know if you can tell, but I thought, just in case you can't tell, I'm going to put a level against it. There you go. That's the angle it's on at the moment. Well, use it the proper way or whichever way you want. Here you go. Come get it. Come on, get in nice and close. Have a look at this bubble here. This is the bubble. This is how we build walls in a house. Not Greek style. The level is, for example, to give you an idea, that's where it needs to be. See that? So we're sitting what's that? Almost 15, 20, 30 degrees. It's almost 45 degrees. That's the level. So we've got to straighten this up. Now, because it's a small tree, meaning the height, we really are going to struggle using bamboo sticks. Vader, stop. Kara, move on. Both of you, please. Saliva face, come on. No, I don't want to pet you. Go away. These are the games we have here with the dogs. Now, what we have, here are your options. What is it? Sit down, come on. Sit, I don't want that saliva on me. Look at it, just... because this is a small tree, the options in staking it up, I think, are minimal. We've got bamboo stakes here, for example. Now, this, if I was to drive it into the ground like that, depending on the type of soil you've got as well, folks, because some soil is quite hard, you'll find you might struggle with the bamboo going into hard soil. It may split open, and even if it goes into the ground, I'm just pushing this in by hand because I can, right? Even if I was to put that in the ground vertically like that, there's a concern with this because the tree has got a lean on it already, so there's going to be a lot of tension against the bamboo stake. So I reckon if I was to put this in the ground like this, over time, it'll actually pull the stake over in that direction as well. So, and mind you, these will rot out. Have a look at this, for example. So this has been in the ground for over a year, and a year's a decent time, but anyways, it still has rotted out. So that's been left in one of the other trees that I just pulled it out of. And same with this one over here, folks. See that? That's just rotted out as well. So be wary about that because they can rot out, the bamboo stakes. Now these are 15, 20 mil diameter, something like that. Next up from that, you've got your hardwood, typical tomato stakes or garden stakes. Now these are 20, 25 mil square pieces. Now these are great. If you look after these well and take them out at the end of the season, because that's what we're talking about, tomatoes, when it comes into the season, you'll have these forever and a day. They will rot out over time. And I recommend when it comes to buying garden stakes for your veggies like tomatoes and cucumbers and other things that climb, always get something as tall as possible, something that you can manage, even if you have to get onto a step ladder, one step or two maximum, because over the years, as you use them, the bottoms will rot out. So if they start off at, let's say, 2.1 meters high, because I think they come at 2.1, maybe 2.3 now, say it's 2.1, which is about there. After the first year, because you've got about 400 in the ground, that's going to rot out, or second year, let's say, and it'll become 1.8 stakes. So it's still tall enough to use for your tomatoes because you've got the length. Whereas for trees like this olive tree, which is a dwarf, well, I've made it into a dwarf, these will be strong enough to hold it up. But again, you can't stake it in vertically. You need to go almost at the same angle, if not more, in the opposite direction of what the tree's leaning. So I'm going to have to drive this into the ground like that to make it work and hold its shape. Problem here is the distance between the actual garden stake and the tree at the highest level on the trunk, you can see here, is the furthest. So that's the biggest distance we have. But as you go down, you can see it narrows off from the stake to the tree. So there's a high chance that the actual tie that you use may slip down to a lower level, causing the tree to lean back to its original angle that it is again. So you need to be cautious of that as well. To compensate for that, you can do one of a couple of things. The first one is to actually put a screw or a nail onto the side here and stop the actual tie from sliding down, as well as tying it around one of the branches, looping it around so it's actually fixed at a certain point so it can't slide down. Whereas down here, there's a possibility where it can slide. So keep that in mind if you're using garden stakes and a tree that's got a lean like that on it. Or the other option, using these tree stakes. These are something that we brought out recently. We haven't got any in stock at the moment, folks, but we are going to get some back very soon. This is what I use to straighten up, in particular, small trees like this, as well as shaping branches that are growing upright that I need to open out again. The beautiful thing about these are, apart from the fact that they're metal, and you can get them in galvanized form as well, you drive it into the ground, you've got this little lug here, which when you drive into the ground, that'll pin itself into the soil as well, stopping the actual peg itself or stake from lifting up vertically and straightening up. And the aim is to actually drive these not vertically down, as you would a tent peg, drive it down at an angle as well, like that. So these are a huge, big ass tent peg basically, but we use them as tree stakes. See how well that just, seriously? I didn't realize I was that strong. And that's gone straight into the ground. Now, I'm gonna try and pull this on an angle. Let's see if it comes out. Because the ground is so soggy, it may dislodge a little bit. Let's get it in the ground properly. So we've just pegged it down there like that. Let's get underneath and pull. Nah, that's not going anywhere. So they actually are a lot stronger than your typical garden stakes. But look, if you can't get these, because we haven't got them available online at the moment, go with the timber stakes, because if you've got a tree that's leaning over and needs serious attention, don't waste any time, tie it up. Once they're back online, you can order them again. All right, so tying it up. The next thing about tying up trees, one stake isn't enough. Two stakes may be okay, but ideally you need to use 3 pinning points. So I've got one on this spot here at the moment, and that's because the angle of the wind is coming out there. In actual fact, I should just realign it a bit. Now I'm pulling it out in the same direction I drove it in, comes out real easy. So we're going to go at the same line as which way the tree is leaning over, basically in the opposite direction, like that. And then you can go on the other side as well if you like, because you know the wind does change direction sometimes. You know, it doesn't always blow from the one side, it may blow from the other end as well. So if you were to pin it on both sides, that's fine, but when you get a wind crossing across, well, coming crossways, it could still cause the tree to wobble that way. So ideally, 3 pinning points in a triangular formation is what you need to do. So we've got one here, and then if we had a bird's eye view, we would have basically these 2 spots there. Don't mind the tall grass, we haven't brush cut here yet. So they're the 3 pinning points. And it's about 50 centimetres away from the centre of the tree. You can go a little bit more if you like, and that really depends on the height of the tree as well. Again, these are great for smaller trees. They will help on larger trees as well, but if the trunk is about this high, you don't want to pin it so close. You'll have to pin it probably about 1 metre away so you can get the right angle on it, or enough angle on it so it's not too sharp and there's enough torque to be able to pin it down properly. So the taller the trunk, that way, or otherwise use large garden stakes. And as I said earlier, make sure they're pinned on an angle as well. Now, garden stakes also come in a 2-inch square piece, which is 50mm by 50mm. You probably see those on the nature strip of the roads, where the council workers or planters or gardeners use those for the larger trees, and they use a hessian tie as well, which they staple to the side, which stops, you know, the actual hessian tie from falling down or going upwards. In this case, I'm just going to use my jolly tie. That's readily available at all good garden centres. If you can get some hessian tie, great, use that too, or tree tie. That'll work really well. This is really strong, you know, for at least a year, because it does break down with the UV sun rays. But in this case here, one loop I wouldn't say is enough. I'd probably do 3 loops, 2 to 3 loops like that. So you've almost got a rope-like effect happening. So that's how we're going to do it here. Right, so I'm just going to tie it off here on the stake, push it down a bit further so we don't dislodge it. Now we'll go around the top of it. Like I said, you've got to use a little bit of the branching. Now, tying it there can be a little bit dangerous, because we can probably cause it to split depending on how much tension we've got to put on this tree. So we're just going to start below there for now, and that branch there will act as a little bit of a lug to stop it from falling over. I'm going to pull on this. Now, there's a couple of things to factor in here to pay attention to. The age of the tree. See, this is quite a decent trunk on it, even though it's only a couple of years old, this tree. It's telling me that the roots have established pretty well here. Not enough to stop it from leaning over, but enough to give it a good sized trunk, and that would mean that it's almost holding itself in this position quite sturdily on its own. So by pulling hard, there's a chance that I might rip some of the roots on that side there, because that's the closest point to the ground. So as you're pulling back, listen for any cracks or, you know, tears that may occur from the roots. Now, you may not be able to pull it up straight in the first round, the first time you tie it up. Pull it as much as you feel comfortable with, without exerting yourself too much, like this, and then bring the rope around again, or in this case the jolly tie. There we go, slowly. I'm working it slowly. You don't want to uplift the roots on one side, but you know, this is an olive tree, it's pretty strong, pretty tolerant. Okay, so on the first round, we didn't quite get it completely level, but what you can do after a couple of months, because this will start to give a bit in the soil, the roots will start to ease off from that tension, and then you can come back, loosen it up, and then just repeat the same process and just pull it tighter until you get it to the point where it's completely level to your satisfaction. And obviously, if you're not 100% sure, get your level out. Just a little knot at the bottom so you can keep it in place, and then peg it down all the way to anchor it into the ground like that. And there we go. And now we can repeat the same process on the other 2 points. Now on these 2 sides, we're not going to pull it as tight as we did on the other side, but enough just to keep the soft tie. What's wrong, mate? Hey, what's wrong? You sookie. Pull it tight enough so you're not pulling it back down to the old angle that it was, but enough to keep the actual tie tight enough to stop it from wobbling away. Where's my hammer? Someone bloody mow the lawns here, please. Oh, there it is. Thanks for that. It's my third eye. There we are, folks. So 3-point tie is what you need to do to get complete stability of the tree. Now this has still got a bit of a lean on this side, as I said earlier. I'm going to leave it for now because I don't want to pull it any harder than that without causing any damage to the roots. We'll come back in a few weeks and we'll straighten it up, loosen all this up, and then pull it a bit more tighter and see if we can get it back to a complete vertical level point. That's all you've got to do with your trees. Now, things like this, folks, is what we're going to be doing at the workshop. Demonstrations like this, hands-on, so you can experience it yourself, what it feels like to actually pulling on the tree and understanding the tension it's required to get it to the level without causing damage to the roots. Plus all the pruning techniques, talking about espalier, fruit trees, open vase shape, formal and informal as well. And obviously all about the soil conditions, what we need to do to bring the life back into the soil. Vasily's fruit tree workshops are going crazy. We've sold out the first 4 sessions, so we released another couple. Take advantage before they sell out as well. They'll be held here at Basil Rose Estate. You'll be taken for a little tour around the gardens to check out what we do here in real time and some hands-on as well. Check it all out at vasilysgarden.com, and don't forget our EOFI, which is End of Financial Year sale, is still on. From me, Vasily, Maresi.